Yeah, it's money. Money's what I'm talking about today. It's probably about all I can play his song without getting the copyright permission. Uh, that's uh, that's Aloe Black. I need $1. So, talking about money, and money is a very interesting topic in jail or prison. In society, time is another concept. I'm going to talk about that probably another day. But um, money is something in prison that is very strange and has a lot of effects, and it has a lot of effects on people in society, and certainly it has a lot of effects on people that were in society that are now in jail or prison, obviously. So, um, you know, a lot of people that are in jail or prison, they like to, my experience has always been you meet very few millionaires in prison. And there's a reason for that because it isn't the rich that are going to jail or prison. They have good enough lawyers to get out of whatever the charge is usually, so they're not going to jail or prison. They don't have to worry about it. They don't have to think about their state pay or if they're going to have enough money on their account to buy noodles and zuzus and wham whams or whatever. So you don't have to worry about that if you're a millionaire. Typically, there's exceptions. Federal prison, some other people. Maybe you just did something really horrible and it doesn't matter how much money you have, you're still going to prison. And there's some people I can think of that come to mind that are that. But by and large, most people that are in jail or prison are the poor and poorer of society, I should say. And I myself was included in that. I was certainly not well off. The job that I had immediately before I was arrested, I was an EMT, so made 11 something, 10, 11 something an hour base rate, and then overtime. So about $20 an hour at most in overtime. So wasn't making a whole lot of money. We're living paycheck to paycheck like a lot of people do. And so when I went to jail or prison, or both, that income stopped. I wasn't able to do that anymore, obviously. And I had to rely on either myself, some kind of hustle I could have, or money that I got from family or friends or state pay. Which I'll talk about all of those things and how that plays and factors into things. But a lot of people, so with all that prefatory stuff said, a lot of people like to pretend that there's something they're not in prison, and that probably lends to maybe how they got there. They're imagining that there's something else, or they're this big drug dealer, and they're most of the time, my experience has been they're probably getting high on their own supply anyway. They get hooked on it, or maybe they're not. I'm not a judge. If they're doing drugs, they're doing drugs. So what? But it's it's something that really kind of tears at you while you're there because it's magnified that the people that don't have money versus the people that do. And where that really comes into play is on commissary day or store day. Different places call it different things. Some places you can go to the store every day. In Kentucky, it was that way. Some places it's once a week. In jails, a lot of times, typically it's that way. Some prisons are that way across the country, but it just depends. So you have income that you get, whether it's, most states are going to try to get you to do some sort of inmate job, whether that's a janitor or work in the kitchen, which is dreadful, typically, anywhere you go. Maintenance, they have, I worked in maintenance at a couple different places that I was at. They have vocational schools that may pay you something, but we're not talking about even minimum wage or even half a minimum wage. We're talking about, at most in Kentucky, you may get $1 a day. So do the math, maybe $30, $40 a month, not very much. The kitchen, you can get more days, and that gives you more money that way, obviously. But at most, you're talking maybe $30, $40 a month, and it's not that much by any standard, especially in prison, because I think a misconception that people have is that when you go to prison, everything's cheaper, and it's not. It really, really isn't cheaper to be there. They don't give you a huge the inmate discount. They don't do that. They charge you pretty much the same. A lot of times they'll charge you more on a given item, whether it's a bar of soap or a shampoo or a food item, whatever it may be. Certainly on electronics and other things that aren't necessities, they're going to charge you even more for it. And for the quality that it is, you're not going to get what you're paying for, basically. So you have your state pay, which is your income from your job you may have. You have family and friends that may still care about you. It may be your first time, like it was mine. I hopefully won't ever go back. It's really hard not to go back. I don't want to go back to prison. It's not a good place. It's not a happy place at all, by any stretch of the imagination. You have family and friends that may still care about you, may send you money. But I noticed something when I was in prison that really kind of bothered me, and it was people would be on the phone and they would be crying to their spouses, their wives, their girlfriends, their mom, grandma, brothers, uncles, dad, whoever it may be, kids, baby's mom, whatever the situation was, and they'd be crying about money. And I was never that way. Thankfully, I didn't ever have to be, because I tried to be very resourceful, and I had a decent job the whole time that I was in prison for the most part. Typically tended to be in that $1 a day. There's some people who get less than that. They get 65 cents a day. So there is less than that. But they're on the phone, they're crying, or they invent some kind of a scam. If I don't get $200 to whoever, then they're going to beat me up, or they're going to break my leg, or I owe some money. And maybe that's really what's going on. They don't tell them that. They just say they need to get some money because someone's threatening them. And so the story gets twisted from there. But a lot of times what it is people that have a drug issue in prison, and drugs, the illusion, if it isn't torn off by the time you're watching this video, then I don't tell you. People in prison do drugs. They get drugs. Drugs are obtained and they are available in prison. It may be a little more difficult to obtain it as far as the logistical chain of how it gets there, but they are there. Tobacco was there. I never saw a bottle of liquor when I was there, but I saw, and as my experience at Legal Aid, I had people that I was the legal aid for, and they had all manner of drugs, Suboxone, marijuana, you name it, it was in there. So, coffee. So, the money is one thing, the income is one thing, but then you have what people are spending it on, whether it's canteen, whether it's poker, which gets a lot of people. You have someone that's addicted to a substance. They come to prison and they replace one addiction for another, and they become a gambling addict. I've seen it happen. It's terrible. It does happen. So, and you also have what a lot of people call a hustle. It can be a lot of different things. Me, I was really good at computers. I've always been that way. Whether it's being accurate in typing things or researching things and looking stuff up. I've always been really good at that. Now in the prisons and jails, you don't have access. You're not gonna be able to check your email, check your Facebook. Not gonna happen. But you do have some limited access now to like an email type system that is proprietary to the prisons. It's administered through a third-party vendor through the prison systems. In Kentucky, it's called JPay, and they do email of sorts that's recorded. That if you say anything silly in there, and people do, then they can use that against you, whether it's an escape plan or threatening someone or whatever. And you have to pay for those. Those are not free emails, certainly. They're going to get their money somewhere or the other. They have a hustle too. So I knew some people that were doing so well, it appeared like that they were actually sending money orders home, if you can believe that. They, in Kentucky, tobacco it was effectively made illegal, I guess, in the prison system. It was declared contraband. It was no longer sold. It was declared contraband in 2012. At the end of 2011, people were hoarding it. They were buying it left and right as much as they could in anticipation of that. And then they got rid of it, sold it after the fact, before the cells began to be searched. And they would take stamps, lots of stamps for cigarettes, because they weren't around, but they were sending hundreds of stamps home, which stamps they're not US dollars, but they're close. It's a recognized, you can take those to a post office and get money for them. So I knew people were doing that. Not that I was doing that, not that I was advising them how to do that or helping them do that, because shouldn't do that at all. But that's some of the things that I did see. You have a hustle. You have people that do have a certain skill or a certain thing There's people in every dorm. You're going to have a laundryman. That's his state job, and he'll wash your clothes for you. And it'll be in stuff other than the prison laundry stuff, which is a chemical that I can't imagine. I don't want to think about what's actually in that chemical. Makes your clothes smell horrible and turns them colors, and it's awful. You can have an in-dorm laundryman. You can pay him, X amount of money a month or a week or however it works out, and he'll do your clothes for you. And it's like in Gain or Tide or some generic dollar store brand that they get, that's sold there or that they provide. But that's one hustle that you can have. You have people that can sew. So you have people that order CD players and they can sew out of sweatpants, and you wouldn't believe the kind of magic that people can do. But they'll sew a CD carrier or a radio carrier to go around your neck, like a lanyard type deal. So you're not just carrying it in your hand or putting it in your pocket and losing it or whatever. You have people that can fix those CD players, and some of the things they can do with very, very minute materials can be amazing, really. They can solder with super glue. I've seen people do that. People that can fix shoes, tennis shoes or boots or whatever. They get glue from different industries, buildings in the area, wherever they may be at the prison, and they can use that glue and fix shoes, tennis shoes, whatever else. You have people that make knives. That's a hustle. It's not a good hustle. It's not something you should do. Me personally, because I was good at computers and good at typing and those kinds of things, I type letters for people, whether it's personal letters or letters to courts and judges and those kinds of things. And I just took their words and cleaned it up, applied some rules of grammar and English and stuff to it, and they gave me stamps or whatever it was that I may have needed at the time. It wasn't a lucrative business or anything, but it's how I survived, by my own intellect and my own skills and abilities, because the 65 cents or $1 a day that I was getting, obviously it isn't enough to survive on. So you have people that are legal aids. Legal aids in Kentucky aren't supposed to charge, but they do. There's very few that I've ever ran across that didn't charge anything. Some do, but maybe one or two across 6 years of being in custody. And it's a customary thing. I mean, it's a very strange ethics setup in prison. Because I was a legal aid, and from 2013 until the time when I was released in 2015, I had people that have disagreed with what I said or what I said about a given topic, but most times people don't argue with legal aids. They don't bother you because they may need you. And if they have a personal gripe about something silly the day before and they get locked up that night, they're going to see you, and you might remember that. You might be, vindictive about it and not do all that you could in that hearing to get that person transferred, or they got parole coming, or whatever it may be. I never held that against anybody. I always did my job as fairly as I could, and it wasn't really about some money or them as much as it was my ego and wanting to do a good job, and also because I was on the inmate side of things. The way that I felt is that a win for inmates is a win for everybody. And if I argue the law and can win, then good. It was just something kind of as a hobby, I guess, at that point. But I loved reading the law. I loved researching cases and statutes and those kinds of things. And so that became kind of my hustle, I guess. You've got someone that's getting $100 a week every week from their family. A $3 bag of coffee isn't really all that much for a motion that may get them jail credit, or whatever. And that's it. When you're in Rome, you do as the Romans. I wasn't going to say no, because then people are going to think, well, what are you, an informant? And that's the worst thing to be in prison. So you adapt. You change the way that you may feel about things to the environment that you're in. And then when you get out, you hopefully go back to being a decent person, and you remember those things. But money is a very strange thing in prison. It tends to divide people. But I'll say this: I saw lots of acts of kindness of people that really didn't have anything, and everyone knew it. They knew that they were going to that kiosk every day, and they were just playing basically because they had no money coming in. State pay was three weeks away. They had just had it. and they had spent it up or they had owed it all out, so it didn't matter. The person sitting up there at the kiosk every day playing on the thing, doing like a wish list. Somebody feel bad for them and give them, a sausage and a noodle or something, or it's things like that I remember. And speaking from myself now, obviously money is very important. It's something that occupies a lot of people's lives and pursuits. And people do a lot of strange things for money, whether it's kill someone, a contract killing or something like that. They get stressed out and they rob a bank. They turn to drugs, whatever it may be. Money has a lot of effects on people. Money is essential. It's something that we all need in order to survive. But from the time that I was in prison and the things that I've learned in life since then, and before then, I try to be a very generous person. And, there's a difference to me between generosity and being silly. Someone that's standing at the corner with a sign, and they have an apartment across the street and they're just looking for dope money. It's a decision you make if you give them the money or not. Me personally, I choose not to enable someone else's addiction because I've seen where it can lead to. And that's the reason. That's why. No other reason other than that. So, I don't have a terrible attachment or importance. I don't put a terrible amount of importance on money. I try to donate to causes that I believe in, whether it's charitable or whatever, as often as I can, as often as I realistically have it, with the fact that I have a 1-year-old son and a girlfriend and expenses in life and those kinds of things. But I try to be a very generous person because you can't take any of this stuff with you when you leave. You just can't. You don't see, it was an old thing that I heard a long time ago. You don't see a hearse followed by a U-Haul. When you die, that's it. And so the impression you've made on people is all you really have left. And that's what I want to be known for, is that I help people and that I wasn't greedy or stingy or whatever you want to call it. Money's important. I need to make it. I need to have it in order to survive. But I'm not going to do something terrible. I'm not going to do something criminal, certainly, because of money. So that's me, and that's my take on money. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below, and I will definitely respond back. Share it, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thanks, everybody. Be safe. Take care of everybody.